Welcome everyone to Ecopsychology Voices, an interview series with some of ecopsychology's luminaries. Hello, my name is Carol Koziel, and I'm the founder of the Canadian Ecopsychology Network, the host of this series. Linda Bazell and I co-created this program. Today, Melissa Clues-Hunt will be in conversation with Ariana Candell around the topic of somatic ecotherapy. Melissa is the founder and therapist with Healing Spaces Therapy in Guelph, Ontario, and has over 10 years experience working with individuals, couples, families, and groups. Thank you, Melissa and Ariana, for sharing your time and wisdom with us today. And Melissa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Carol. Welcome, everybody. So we are here today with Ariana Candell. She's a therapist who is passionate about helping people reconnect with their own bodies and the natural world as a path to a more holistic and balanced way of life. A licensed marriage and family therapist and a registered dance movement therapist, she has 20+ years experience in the field and 10 years experience with pioneering and teaching somatic ecotherapy practices. Ariana is the founder of Earth Body Institute, a professional, educational, and transformational forum dedicated to cultivating dynamic, reciprocal relationships with the natural world. She's developed and taught a variety of online and land-based ecotherapy training programs and hosted the first online ecotherapy conference in 2018. She also teaches ecotherapy seminars as an adjunct professor at John F. Kennedy University. Ariana is a settler living most of her life on Chochenyo Olo lands in what is now called Oakland, California. She is very grateful to practice ecotherapy in the rolling hills with the redwoods, oaks, and bay laurels. And you can find her online at theearthbodyinstitute.com. Welcome, Ariana. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And I understand you have an arriving exercise for us. Would you like to start us with that?
Yes, I would. So part of somatic ecotherapy, which I will talk and share about throughout this time, is to kind of be present in our bodies as much as we can when we're out in the natural world. And so what better way to start than kind of come into our bodies and settle and connect with each other. So if you are okay with softening your eyes or closing them or looking down, we'll do like a 2-minute kind of breath arriving exercise. So, yeah, so turning inward and feeling yourself, begin to be aware of the temperature of your breath coming into your body right now without having to change anything. You may be aware of any scents in the air, in your building where you are, or with an open window. And then I want you to bring yourself in your imagination to a favorite place outside. And imagine you're breathing in the air of that place. And notice any scents, if it's the forest or the ocean, mountain smells. What scents are there that you can breathe in and fill your body? You may be aware of what you see around you as well as you're bringing in the air there. Bring it in a little deeper into your belly, your abdomen. And then bring it into the back and front of your ribs. So kind of deepening the breath forward and back. And seeing if you can even bring it into deeper to your lungs, to the sides of your lungs. So all the front, deep and side are all filling with this wonderful air from your favorite place. And just allowing whatever happens in your breath without having to push it or change it, just kind of giving the invitation to your breath. And then becoming aware of the breath of all of us here and all of the places that we heard all over this continent. And just imagine all of the breaths are connecting, because they do eventually. But feeling the connection through the air of all of us here today and all of the people that will listen to this in the future. And lastly, giving an inward nod of appreciation to the air for all that it gives us, all that it gives all the living creatures on this planet. And just noticing if you feel any differently in your body from when you started a minute or two ago. And then opening your eyes or looking up again.
How beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Ariana.
Welcome.
We're here speaking today about somatic ecotherapy, so body-oriented ecotherapy, integrating the earth, our bodies. How did you come across this field of work, and what is somatic ecotherapy?
I kind of actually came across it because my training is as a dance movement therapist, and that was kind of my way of relating to most things through movement and body awareness. And as I was spending more time outdoors, I got this kind of message to bring this work outdoors to people, not just with myself. And so then I began to interweave everything I learned in school as a dance therapist into the work outdoors. And then, my other trainings came into it, body-oriented Hakomi and my outdoor wilderness trainings. And so, but I just kind of looked at it through the lens of the body. And so I kind of, in a certain way, was one of the people that came to creating it. It's not like a official term or anything that, it's widely used, but myself and a couple other people like to use that word because it describes kind of more of the lens that we do it. I'm going to read you a quote from one of my favorite books, Andrea Olson, Body and Earth. I'll give you the reference later. And this is what she talks about, how it relates to the land. Our bodies know so much. It is our job to learn to listen. We are part of, not separate from, the earth we inhabit. Our bones, breath, and blood are the minerals, air, and water around us, not separate but the same. This isn't metaphor, as I once thought. It is fact. And then a woman named Susan Bauer adds to this: as we come to recognize that our very breath, bones, and fluids are in fact parts of the natural world around us, we realize our deep interconnection with one another and are inspired towards creativity and heartfelt stewardship of our planet. So, we can't help but be somatically connected. It's, who we are as bodies and as humans on the land. But how I do it is kind of highlighting that and kind of going in that way through the senses first, and then through physical contact, through gesture, movement, things like that. So it's kind of focusing more on the body's relationship to what's around us.
And I've heard you say before, Ariana, too, that a lot of us who are practicing therapists, practicing ecotherapists, that we integrate somatic ecotherapy. We wouldn't necessarily just call it that we integrate some of these principles in ways, for example, in terms of grounding with our senses. That's something that I think a lot of therapists use, whether indoors or outdoors, or even noticing if we're outside with a client and crossing thresholds, ways that we orient ourselves in more human-built areas, and then as we transition into more wild, wilderness-based places, and noticing the shifts that happen in our bodies. So things, again, we wouldn't necessarily frame as somatic ecotherapy, but that can be seen through that lens as well. What are some examples in your practice of somatic ecotherapy? What are some examples of what that actually looks like?
Yeah, so I practice in the redwood forest and bays and oaks. So my major template are, the trees and some creeks and such. and I work with a lot of women. And a big thing that comes up for a lot of women is wanting more kind of strength and power and confidence, and to feel more rooted, and just to kind of feel more able to uphold themselves. And so trees are fantastic mirrors and models of that. And so many times, in many ways, that'll come up, that they want to feel connection with a tree, or I'll suggest, would there be a tree around here that you feel like shows you that or models that for you? And so how we would do it is then, they would decide which tree they feel in connection with and ask permission, feel like there's an okay and a connection there, and then begin to tune in and feel the tree, notice it, get a sense of it. And then usually I start with from the roots, kind of feeling their roots energetically go down to connect with the roots of the trees, and then feeling their trunk, feeling solid and feeling kind of like similar to that trunk of the tree, which are usually, unless they're like a willow or something, that it's usually solid trees we're looking at, pretty strong. And then eventually with their arms, how do their arms want to reach out? How do their arms want to stretch? And often they're like wide arms and feeling, confidence. And in that whole process, sometimes it's a couple minutes, sometimes it goes on for 20 or 30, because there'll be things that'll come up, whatever's in the way of the confidence, there'll be some feelings that we work with, memories, whatever happens, but we're, the anchor or the resource there is their relationship with that tree that's right there with them, and that they can keep looking at, sometimes put a hand on, sometimes lean against, sometimes hold back against it. So there's just so much, I feel like trees are so friendly and just so willing to almost always say yes to wanting to support this work. And so that's like an exercise, or kind of a process that happens a lot with women. And then I encourage them to, dialogue internally or verbally with the tree, and see if there's any other particular messages, which there usually are. And then we kind of work with how can they keep this relationship up by coming to visit it, or, calling it back in their imagination. Sometimes there's a particular movement that they find, or a posture that that comes out of this experience. So that's like a real major one that we do.
Beautiful. And you started to allude to some of this, Ariana, in terms of some of the ethical pieces of this, even in terms of the permission, for example, or that reciprocity. Are there any core principles that you find are important for therapists to consider before integrating somatic or ecotherapy practices into their work?
Definitely. Yeah. So, I think one of the first things is that you want to feel enough of a comfort in your own body, even if it's a little bit of a stretch, that's okay. But you want to kind of try this yourself at least once with another person before you start, trying with other people, because then you'll know the territory, you'll have more of the power and the sense of it and what the possibilities are. Another thing is to, I'm going to use my cheat sheet here. Yeah. Another thing is to, as you're leading the person, to feel it yourself. You tune into your roots, you tune into your trunk, your branches, so that you're in a continual relationship with them, and you can kind of sense where to go next, just like we do with our clients in general, but you're also tuning into the land and the tree and whatever else you're working with. Another is to go out and get a lot of these experiences for yourself, like with all different landscapes, environments, because some people have relationships with lakes and creeks and sky and soil. There's going to be all these different kind of ways that people relate to these, I call them, nature allies, nature beings. And the more that you kind of have a sense of those, oh, well, what about this one? Or does, you would say, oh, it seems like a still lake would be a good place to really cultivate and develop a relationship with. So that's really important, to have your own range of awarenesses and experiences. So that's one. Also, of course, when we're working with the body and going into those realms, we want to know what kind of history our clients have. You don't want to, ask them to do something that's going to just immediately trigger their biggest body trauma. So we want to, know that territory before you invite something. Um, and a good rule of thumb is hands and feet are good beginnings for most people. They're usually not as triggering as the trunk of the body, or of course the pelvis. That's usually a really big place to trigger. And even just using the senses to connect without even necessarily touching or moving anything is a good start. There's a couple more. Another one is obviously, to have that strong relationship with your client, which will then inform you of what to invite or offer them. And then, of course, what I said earlier, you want to respect the sovereignty of all of what you're relating with. And sometimes people get very excited. Oh, I want to touch this. I want to grab this. Because they're feeling, inspired and open and in their bodies. And to, at some point along the way, remind, invite, acknowledge the relationship and the presence of what we're not just doing something to something. We are in communication. So I think those are good beginnings of this.
Oh yeah, and we'll come back to that piece too in terms of some of the pain of the land as well. So thank you for starting that conversation, Ariana. If we were to stay with, as therapists, the kind of the piece of whether we're indoors or outdoors, what are ways that we can call on connections with the natural world to support us in the work that we do? So kind of like the widening circles of support and help in this work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I imagine a lot of us work indoors a lot because there's winter and different things. It's harder to go outdoors. And whether we're indoors or out, we can do these things. So, I mean, for myself, when I'm in the office sometimes and I'm either tired or it's towards the end of the day or I have a particularly difficult client or whatever, I will, in my imagination and energetically call in like a circle of trees around myself and then kind of feel like the forest is helping hold me, helps me calm down, helps me to feel that I'm not alone. So whatever your, nature connections are, again, I call them nature allies, whatever ones work for you or work for you, or whatever ones you want to cultivate, to bring those in to help you. And so that's one way. And then, yeah, it can be done before, during, after, you can do it anytime. And I think I had another idea. I know I have other ideas, but, oh yeah, the other one is just, when you are outside, going outside and calling on the natural world to offer some of its guidance. Like, for example, lately I've been calling on stone and rock and mountain, which is new for me because I'm having to be in that role of more sullenness than the soil and trees and ground. And so that's a relationship I'm cultivating, and then it's translating into different places in my life that I need it. So that's another way.
Beautiful, beautiful examples. And what we're talking about too is that there's so much rejuvenation that comes as we connect with the land, and we are often in awe and so filled and replenished as we attune our bodies with the earth. And as we've talked also before, for those of us who are attuned to the earth, there's also anxiety and sadness and fear and anger that we open ourselves to in terms of the earth's experiences of pain and just how much hurt there is. So what are some ways in your practice or your teaching that you've helped people address some of these more painful experiences in connection with the land?
So I'll start with the group, since I've been talking a lot about individuals. So I've studied a decent amount with Joanna Macy, the work that reconnects, and so that informs my individual and my group work. And so what I would say with pretty much all, sorry, pretty much all of my groups, we do some form of her spiral, from gratitude to honoring her pain to seeing with new eyes to going forth. And particularly with the pain part, that's what you're asking about. There's two ways that I think are pretty easy to translate to groups, and even on a first level, even if you only have an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. And one of them is open sentences, which is there's a lot of different sentences that get a person started, and then you talk, each person talks in a diet for 2 minutes. And one of those is, when I think of what's happening to the natural world, it makes me cry, what breaks my heart is, and then you finish that sentence. And as you can see, it's very powerful. And so people get a chance to actually say what's going on that they usually don't talk to very many people about, and be heard and acknowledged and validated. And so, and there's other sentences of, when I see what's happening to our society, our culture, what I feel is, or when I see what the world, we're going to leave our children. So anyway, it's very powerful, just, those sentences, because we're all living with this and we're all holding this, and most of us are holding it alone and are numbing to it or distracting from it and all that. And so, open sentences are very evocative and helpful. People feel relieved and glad that they're able to put that somewhere. And there's another exercise that I really love. It's called the milling. And these are both in Joanna Macy's book, Coming Back to Life. And I'll give you that resource later. They describe them very well. And the milling is you're done in a group of at least like 6 or 8 people. If it could be done with 50. And you're going around and having these little encounters with people. In one encounter, you tune into the preciousness of life in this person. Another one, you tune into their strengths and how they can give their gifts to the world and help make it a better place and more life-sustaining place. Another one is knowing that this person knows what's going on in the world and is still willing to be here to talk about it. And there's a couple more. So after that experience, people feel just, like, oh, wow, I'm not alone. And I'm other people are holding this, and we have a community here. And so that's a really beautiful experience. Yeah. And on an individual level, I know we don't have a lot more time. Just if someone starts talking about their fears or anger or depression or despair, any of that around what's happening to their environment, it's particularly important for us as ecotherapists to really welcome that, because we are so suited to it, and so many therapists are not yet. They don't even, something more now, people are getting it, but they don't quite have the way of holding, this is real, this is not a past issue or a psychodynamic thing, this is someone right now in the present, really scared or worried or whatever, and to really make that a welcome, open space, and help them also to see with new eyes, a second stage, that why they have such deep feelings is they really care, and they really love the earth and the planet and their children and their communities, and going through that, then sometimes they get to more like, oh, well, I maybe will write that petition, or maybe I will go to that protest, or maybe I will volunteer with 350.org or whatever it is. Yeah, so much more to say, but
Beautiful. Thank you, Ariana. I guess for the sake of time, I'll invite you to share some of those resources that you were considering offering in terms of if people want to look at more reading or places that they can go digging in terms of the topic for somatic ecotherapy. Anything you have to offer would be great.
Yeah, I'll actually send them in the PDF. But the big one that I like the most is the book that I read from Body and Earth by Andrea Olson. So that is one. I'm going to send you a couple of journal articles that get more detailed about somatic ecotherapy, and a magazine article. And then if you want to experience it in the flesh, you can come and do one of my workshops. I do 5-day trainings, and the level 2, we do a lot of experiential and also practicing it. And so people gain a lot more capacity to then lead their clients. And I know people are all over the world listening to this, so I also have online trainings, and I'll send you that link. And so you can kind of get a little bit of traction going with some of these things. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's wonderful to know it exists as well. Is there a story that you wanted to share that highlights or illustrates some of the felt body connections with the earth that come through your work or your own experience?
Yeah, I'll share 2 little examples of kind of particular poignant things with clients. So again, I'm out in the forest, And one of my clients was having a lot of anxiety, as a lot of our clients do, and was pretty comfortable being outdoors. And so I invited her to lie down on the ground. You know, she could choose a mat or not, and began to kind of help her feel, you know, the texture of her skin against the ground, because there were, you know, pine needles and such, and then begin to release her muscles, and then begin to kind of let the earth, you know, feel the earth kind of holding her, and then feel the energy of the earth coming up into her. And you know, this whole process took about 15 or 20 minutes because we took it really slow. But she went into this incredibly beautiful, I mean, truly profound relaxation that she said she hadn't felt for a very long time. And I obviously was feeling it too with her. And she felt so held and so given to, and also, like, you know, was also having these kind of waves of energy pulse through her. And, you know, she was pretty open and it was happening, but it was particularly beautiful and deep. So that's one, pretty simple. And then another one was a client and I, we were talking about all different things and started looking at the clouds, and we both had the instinct at the same time, let's lie down and look at them. And we kind of went into this child, playful, sweet place that evoked really happy, nurturing memories. And, you know, it was in the body position of lying down and looking up, which again is very natural, very simple. So I actually wanted to say to everybody, you know, you're probably doing so many of these things in small ways or big ways anyway. And so it's not, you know, super complicated, but it's a matter of, you know, tuning in to yourself, tuning into your clients, tuning into the land, and these things can evolve, and we just can kind of keep them immersed in it and going with it. Yeah. One other thing I want to say from way back when is, you know, I gave the tree example, and that's, you know, very much of where I live and how I am. But, you know, you can do these, you know, embodying things with boulders and sweet little delicate ferns and, you know, red, yellow, fall trees. I mean, there's so many, you know, sweet little creeks. There's so many ways that you can explore your physical, energetic, and relational connection with all these elements. Yeah.
Wonderful. That really highlights great concrete examples that we can visualize. Thank you, Ariana. In our concluding time, was there a poem that you had for everyone?
Yeah, it sounds like we don't have time for a more experiential. Yes.
Oh, sorry, we do actually. You're right. Yeah. Did you want to share an experiential with everyone? That would be great.
If we have time, that'd be
good.
Seeing a nod or two. Okay, so again, all of these are, you know, kind of speeded up because we have a limited amount of time. But if you are game, and let's just do it in our chair. I'm going to give you a tree experience, since that's the theme today. So if you are open to, again, closing your eyes or softening your eyes, and making sure you have your feet connected to the floor below you if you can. This will be a couple of minutes. Again, kind of softening your breath and turning inward, kind of letting go of the thoughts and words. And begin to be aware of your feet and feel them, maybe even press a little bit into the ground, into the floor below you. And energetically send your roots down below whatever your built part is right now into the soil around where you are. And extend them in your imagination, vision, and energetically, and reach down, connect with that soil and perhaps some other roots of trees around you. And then as you begin to bring up some nutrients and water, kind of imagine what tree you would like to be. Maybe a favorite tree or a favorite type of tree, and just ask a little permission. Is that okay to embody that tree? So begin to drink up nutrients and water up into your roots. And kind of feel them energetically coming up your legs into the trunk of your body. And bring up a quality that you want to bring into your day as well. Perhaps it's stillness or confidence or courage. So feeling all of those things coming up into the trunk of your body. And as you feel them, kind of feel the trunk of your front of your body, the back of the body, your sides of your body, kind of filling up with these nutrients and that quality that you're inviting in. And if any of this is, not coming as easily, it's okay. Just whatever comes is fine. Even just thinking about it, intending it is fine. So breathing in and filling your trunk with these qualities and feeling that tree that you are embodying, what it looks like, what it feels like. And then if you are open and willing, imagine you're growing branches out of this tree, and you can either do it in your imagination or you can join me in reaching out your arms as branches. So feel them coming right out of that trunk and begin to reach up and feel the shape of the branches exactly how you want to have them right now. And in connection with that tree that you're embodying. Find a shape that feels like a good one for you right now, and let that tree support you. And notice if there's any messages that this tree would like to share with you. And then thank the tree, thank your body, thank yourself for what it's offered, for your connecting with it. Let your branches and arms soften, relax. Take another breath or two, kind of letting whatever's there of this experience to kind of receive it. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back.
How beautiful. Thank you, Ariana.
Welcome.
Thank you for our time today and for all of these offerings in terms of who we are as humans and therapists and helpers and earth dwellers in this vast web. Thank you for this.
You're welcome. Yeah. Wish I had time to hear about everyone's experience.
Maybe we can after the recording ends. I know I want to share as well. Did you want to conclude our time with a poem? Do you have a poem that you were going to read?
Yes, I will. Yes. So this poem is from one of my favorite books from my favorite poet, Kai Siedenberg. She writes beautiful nature connection poems, poems of earth and spirit. And this is called When I Was a Creek. So again, if you'd like to soften your eyes or close your eyes, and as you hear these different life forms that are told about, you may see if there's any inkling or resonance in your own body as you hear it. When I was a tree, I sang and danced with the wind and offered food and refuge to all who came. When I was a cloud, I floated freely, bringing shade and rain wherever they were needed. When I was a creek, I flowed effortlessly around stones and nourished life everywhere I went. When I was a seed, I held the story of what I would become inside me, until the sun and rain let me know it was time to share it. When I was a flower, I opened up to reveal my beauty and invited the bees to share my sweetness. Now I am human and can do so many things. Yes, I am full of questions about who I am, yet I am full of questions about who I am and why I'm here. I guess I'll leave you with that.
Thank you everyone for attending today and for those who'll be watching later.
Yeah, thank you so much for going with me. I hope you were able to experience some of these things and hope you try them on your own and hope you try them with your clients, and let me know if you have any questions.